Hey, welcome to Bold Women Lawyers Spotlight. We are here today with another great guest. I love the guests that come on to my show. So today we have Ronalyn Wentz. Ronalyn is with her company is Clark Virtual Business Systems. Is that right, Ronalyn?
Solutions.
Solutions. I'm sorry, I knew it was an S. And I had written it down, and of course, then I couldn't find it, but we've got it. So this is a really interesting topic that Ronalyn is going to be teaching us about because she is an online business manager, and we're going to get into that in a minute and what that really means. But let me tell you a little bit first about Ronalyn. She helps entrepreneurs who feel overwhelmed by their businesses, and she helps with the day-to-day operations so that frees up the entrepreneur, in our case, of course, lawyers or people who work to support lawyers. That frees you up to do the things that you are really great at, which is probably not the day-to-day operations on the business side. Clients love the way Ronalyn is able to think out of the box to help them with ideas to grow the business. And she, fortunately, because of the work that she does, has an eye for detail. And when we're looking at administrative processes and marketing. So in 2019, this is very impressive. Her company, Clark Virtual, won the Loudoun County Virtual Business of the Year after being a finalist in 2018 and then won it in 2019. So congratulations, Ronalyn. That's
Thank you.
terrific.
Thank you. That was a big goal.
I bet. And good for you for
Thanks.
reaching that goal. So today we're going to talk about online business manager. And the reason, I mean, a lot of reasons I wanted you to come on, but that was really one because lawyers now have gotten used to the idea of a virtual assistant, but what you do as an online business manager is different from that. So
Correct.
I'm going to ask you if you could just start by explaining to us what is an online business manager, first of all.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people finally understand what a virtual assistant is. And an online business manager is higher up than a virtual assistant, more into the strategic side of things and making sure that you have the people, processes, and procedures in place. And maybe they implement, sometimes they don't. It just depends on what it is. Like if it's something that I don't do, like websites, I would be the one that would go out and find that right person to do your website for you. And then you don't even have to worry about it. It gets done. You get the final approval, and look over, and it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people don't also understand with virtual assistants, there's different levels of virtual assistants too.
Can you explain that? Because you're right.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
something that people do not understand.
Right. So there's the doers, the virtual assistants who are the doers. Like you have to tell them exactly what to do step by step. They really don't think outside of the box. They do what is asked. Then you kind of have the technical executive assistant type people who usually have like a specialty, maybe the tech side of it. Like maybe they do lead pages, but that's it, or newsletters and that's it, or marketing overall. Or then you have like the executive assistant type virtual assistant who does the more, just like a virtual assistant in the office helps with managing the executive, the CEO in this case. And then you have the online business manager, which is your business manager. So just like the word says, business manager, we help with the strategies and overall business and be a partner in your business, not an employee or not a hire. So
Yeah. No, you work as an basically as an independent contractor, right?
Right, right.
Okay.
Yep.
So let me ask you about some things that, come to my mind that lawyers who have solo firms where they're the only lawyer or small firms might be interested in. And let's talk about how an online business manager might help there. So you mentioned one great example of I need a website, or I need an updated website, or
Right,
I'm having trouble with the people that are handling my website, and I need somebody who can do, A, B, and C for me on a
right,
website.
right,
And you mentioned that, so an online business manager would go and find that person,
right.
right? And then
Yep,
bring it back to say, in this case, the lawyer, and say, look, this is who I found, or here's 3 people I found. Let's talk about
exactly.
it.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So that's a great example. Now, how about um, things like billing software, or, that type of thing? Because lots of lawyers have trouble getting their bills out.
Right, right. Well, to tell you the truth, that's the first thing that should be delegated out and find a bookkeeper. I do not do books.
But if I needed a bookkeeper, could you
Right.
help me find somebody who can
Exactly.
do that?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One of
Mm-hmm.
the things I've done tons and tons of networking, and I have such the network that you would not believe, and the different levels of budgets that apply to those different tasks that you may need. So, like, there's different levels of website people that are out there. You might need a whole website redo. You might want someone to do it, but then want to maintain it yourself, or if you use Wix or WordPress or whatever. It's about finding that right person for your business.
Okay. And that's really important, because
Mhm.
what I find with a lot of, lawyers and solo and small practices is, while they have the need, they don't have the time to put
Right,
into the
right.
search.
Yep,
And what frequently ends up happening is you might talk to a couple of people, or maybe you just talk to one person and just say, I don't have time for this, I'll hire you.
right,
And that may, or frequently may not, be your best option.
right.
Whereas with somebody like you, um, as an online business manager, you can go out and do that search in a much
Mhm.
more organized way.
Right. And give you
To
my
to
recommendation, and
exactly.
then
Yeah.
manage it for you, if so you don't even have to worry about it.
So when we get into the management of things in general,
Mhm.
one of the things that we all need are good processes.
Yes.
One of the
Yes.
things that, and I don't want to just point out lawyers, because I think it's a lot of small business
It's
owners
everybody. It's all in their head, and that's
are
it.
just right. We're not necessarily good at it, right? And so
Yeah.
you're right. It's like it's all up here, either how it is working or how I want it to work.
Yep.
So I know you can help with that. Can you explain a
Yeah.
little bit in what ways you can help?
This is my zone of genius.
I love
I
it. I love it.
love setting up processes and procedures for people. I look at the overall steps that you currently have and steps that you think you might want to have, and put it all together for you and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This will make it the easiest way possible, make it automated as much as possible. And so you can get to the next level in your business. And
So and that becomes so important, because I have it all in my head. And so let's say I've
yeah,
hired somebody now to
yeah,
actually, as an employee, and I think I've taught them, oh, so well, how to do it. And honestly, and I'll be honest about myself, this was me in the beginning as a business owner. And then I get mad because they didn't do it the way I wanted it done.
yeah.
And yet I didn't have any written or video or
Mhm.
documented process that
Yep.
they could go back and say, what did she tell me? I forgot what she did. How do
Right,
we do this?
right.
So how, when you document, how would you do it?
Um, one of the easiest ways to do it is a video. Get on Loom, or I actually use Zoom. It takes up a lot of space on your computer, but it's there.
Yeah.
And not, in the cloud somewhere. It's on your computer, in your system, and just record your steps of what you're doing, and you're talking through what you're doing with someone. That's probably the easiest way to document things.
Hmm.
I also like doing an actual document and doing screenshots. So,
Yeah,
and that's where I come in, and because no one has, you don't have time to do all this. So,
no, but you just read my mind because that was the next question. That's what I was thinking. Like, is it is it in a document form that people could refer to quickly? Some people, learn better by reading. Some people
right,
learn better by
exactly.
watching.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And you do it with screenshots.
yeah,
That makes
yeah,
perfect sense.
yeah. One of my clients that I worked with, she had everything in her head, and usually, almost all my clients, it's all in their head when we first begin. I go, nope,
Yeah.
it's all going to be written down. So that way it makes it easier to delegate. It's out of your hand, out of your head. You have step by step, and then you can easily train someone, but then also give them this backup.
That's a great point because, as we all know, when you first start a new job, a new position, even if you're experienced in whatever the field is, you're not necessarily experienced in how this particular business or law
Right,
firm does things. And
right,
so you may see it that first time, but I know for me, I would need to do it a couple of times
right.
and need something to refer
Yep.
to go back and say, yeah, how do they do it here? I'm not sure how they, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's great. So now it's
Yeah.
all your processes that you have are documented. And then the other thing, it strikes me in the way that you do it both with the video and then with the documentation, it it makes it easier to review when you need to update a process or you need
Yes.
to change a process. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with a document, you can easily update it at any time. It just it because things change, or you
Mhm.
might think, oh, what if we tweak it a little bit, and it's easier to just drop that one little step in.
Mhm. Okay. Now, in terms of again, I'm going to get back to online business manager versus virtual assistant. If I had a couple of virtual assistants, maybe one's working on marketing, certain kind of marketing, maybe somebody doing some social media, maybe somebody doing some email stuff for me. So I've got a couple of virtual assistants, say, doing different things.
Mhm.
Does the online business manager play a role in the coordination of their efforts?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like they would all report to the online business manager. And
Okay.
then that way it frees up the CEO's time where they only have to check in with one person. And then, the OBM is just taking care, managing everybody else.
Exactly. It does. It makes it so much easier rather than thinking, oh, I need to talk to so and so about this
Yep.
and so about that. If I
Yep.
have one point person I can go to
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
and say, this is what I want, then does it then become your job to say, okay, let's figure out who's going to do what of the people that are reporting to you?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And it's all about playing up their skills. If you know someone, if you have a virtual assistant, you know that they love doing the newsletter or email
Mhm.
campaigns, you're delegating to them. Or
Mhm.
if you have someone that loves blogging, it's about getting the right people in those positions, and so you can really grow your business.
And so can you help in actually finding the other assistants, virtual assistants, say, that somebody would need?
Yep, definitely, definitely. Would help with like doing a job description, figuring out exactly what's needed in that position, where to post it. I'm in a whole bunch of different Facebook groups for different virtual assistants, and figuring out like doing like a form, making sure that everybody fills out the form, get all their information, reviewing all the applications that come in, and then narrowing it down so the CEO can review or have the interview with the actual person.
So let's talk for a minute about job description. I'm so glad you said that because again, and I can only speak to lawyers because that's what I am and that's who I know. But frequently it's like, I need somebody to help me with X.
Hmm.
And I'm not necessarily that good at breaking down, what that needs to be. So if I say, I need help with marketing,
Hmm.
can you help me break that down more so that
Yes.
we can specifically? Well, and again,
There's-
that's where, yeah, I mean, I'm a lawyer. I can tell you all about the law stuff, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to the business stuff on that side, and I'm using my business brain now,
Right.
that's where a lot of lawyers need some help too in understanding, what is it that I really need? What do I need to ask for?
Right. Right. One of the things, I mean, luckily I love marketing. I think, and so that's like, I know what needs to go into marketing, and along with the administrative, the operational side.
Mhm.
So, it's one of those things like you just kind of figure out, okay, what's the bigger goal? Okay, so let's break it down to the different steps of what is needed to get into that bigger goal and who would be the right fit for that.
Okay. Okay. That's so helpful because it can be hard trying to figure that out yourself. It can
Yeah.
just be very
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Um, and then once you figure it out, knowing where to go as opposed to somebody like you who says, but I know where to go to find these people,
Right.
I have those connections. Okay.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. Now, um, how about like things, we all need different kinds of software to do different kinds of
Hmm.
things on the business side. And
Right.
I'm not for the, there's specialized legal software for case management and that type of
Right.
thing. And that's sort of you know, its own entity. So that's
Right.
one big type of software that lawyers need. But there's other types of software
Mhm.
that a small business like a law firm may or may not need. How can you help with that?
Well, we definitely start where the business currently is, like what the business owner currently uses, and then figure out, okay, is this really worth, is it the right fit? So many people like, oh, I saw, this CRM is $10 a month. Let me go ahead and sign that up. That doesn't sound so bad. Well, it might not be the right CRM for you. And so I
Sure.
would come in there and say, okay, I don't think you really need this. And let's try this. And it could be down to, I need to save some money. This cost doesn't make sense. I'm paying $100 a month for the CRM. Is there something else that's better for my business? And I would go out and say, okay, this is what I've used in the past, what I've heard about, or just research what one would be the best for the business.
And I think where you started is so important that you look at what somebody already has,
Right.
because frequently the easiest path for us is, oh, so and so told me that X product is good. I'm
Yes.
going to go get it.
Yes.
I don't know if it's good or not. And as you said, it might be great. Like for their type of law practice, it might be fabulous. But for mine, it's
Right.
terrible. And yet now I'm all hooked into it.
Right.
And maybe it's not great, but I don't know what to do next.
Right.
Um, and
And
so,
I had a client like that. Their website was on WordPress, and they wanted to do I'll tell you, it's a dog trainer,
mhm,
and they were trying to do classes, pay for classes online. Well, WordPress, you have to buy all these different apps, widgets or widgets. I can't remember what it is
Yeah.
to make it work right. Well, then I'm like, look, I know Wix has it all in one. Let's try moving everything. I think you really need to get to Wix. It'll just be easier. We were doing a lot of extra steps with WordPress. And when we
Hmm.
moved it to Wix, it saved so much time.
Oh,
So
that's great.
it's things like that I come in and say, this just isn't working right. Let's fix it.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also the sort of staleness idea, and by that I mean, I may have started my law firm 8 years ago, and what I was using then was great at the time,
Right.
but things have advanced, things have changed, new
Mhm.
products,
Right.
new software has come on the market, but I
Yep.
don't have time to keep up with all of that.
Right.
Um, and so that would be something then that you could
Mhm.
also review, right? And
Yeah, definitely,
recommend.
definitely. With all my different networking, people will bring up different applications that software and apps that they use. And I'm like, oh, I haven't heard about that. And so I'll write it down and look it up. I'm like, oh, look at that. So
Mhm.
there's so much out there, but and most of the features are the same. It's just making sure that it's right for you, that it's easy for you and right for your business.
Yeah, that's a great point because sometimes some of the software, some of the programs are very intuitive, really easy to use, and others you just feel like you're reading Greek and you don't know how to
Yeah.
read Greek. Trying to figure out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with this? What's
Yeah.
next? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's extremely helpful. Now, as an online business manager who works with small businesses, right? What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes people make in trying to, when they're trying to run their businesses, where an online business manager can step in and say, "Oh, let me help you with this."
Right. It's it's trying to do it all. And I've been there. I did it all. And one of the things that was the hardest for me to give up was accounting, doing my own books. And I finally did that. And that's because I have an accounting background and I do not do books. Again, I do not do books.
We understand. You don't do it. Okay, we got it.
um, but I knew enough. I could do my own, no problem. And that was the hardest thing for me to give up.
Yeah.
And it's about getting out of your own way. And I sat down and I figured out I was spending probably like 5 hours a month doing reconciling my books, my accounts, and sending out invoices. And it was because I would wait. I would be like, oh, I'll just do that later. I'll just do that
Mhm.
later. And then I'd
Mm.
have to spend, the extra hours getting everything reconciled. So yeah, you just have to get out of your own way and delegate and can't stay in your zone of genius and get the team
Yes.
that you need.
Especially, I love what you said about billing because I talk to lawyers and one of the things that I hear too frequently is, yeah, I just don't get my bills out. Well, if you don't get your bills out, obviously you're not going to have any revenue. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's not so, and they're
yeah,
struggling. And of course, because I didn't get the bills out.
right.
And just because you've delegated that to someone else
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're giving up total control of it,
No,
right? I
nope,
mean, you're still looking,
exactly.
right? You still review
Yeah,
the book and
yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep,
So
every week my bookkeeper emails me and says the books because I told her I go, I want to be able to look at my numbers every single week. And so every week she goes, okay, everything's up to date. Let me know if you have any questions or whatever. And
exactly.
so and that's how I keep control of it or a pulse on it.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. In when I had my law firm, I would talk to my bookkeeper every week and she would do the same thing. She would send me the reports. We would actually talk about it because there were, things that that I wanted, if I wanted her to do, or if she had questions about. But I was going over, I knew those numbers like the back of my hand
Right.
because I was going over them every week. I was making sure that I kept an eye on them. So,
Right.
for those of you who are listening that are thinking, I can't do that because I can't give up control of those numbers, you're not. You're
Right.
just getting help keeping it
Right.
all in order. Yeah.
And another thing, when you just said that, is I can't do that because I can't afford it. You can't not afford, or cannot, afford not to do it, because you gotta, like I said, you gotta get out of your own way. There's no way to grow your business
Right.
if you're stuck in the business doing stuff. You gotta work on the business, not in the business.
And it's in line with that. You said it was taking you 5 hours, but you have an accounting background,
Uh-huh.
so it's taking lawyers a lot more than 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the time that you're spending doing that bookkeeping work, if you instead focus that time on getting new clients,
Mhm.
getting new work, or moving, particularly for those of you who do contingent fee work, moving the cases forward that you already have, you're going to make the revenue you need to pay the bookkeeper and more. So you really do need to look at it from the point of view of, what is the best use of my time?
Yeah.
Not that, I'm too good to do this. That's not it at all. It's what's your zone of genius? That's what you called it,
Yeah.
Ronalyn.
Yeah.
What's your zone of genius? And it's probably not doing your books.
Right. Right.
Just like it's probably not finding the person to build your website.
Right.
Somebody else who is better suited, better informed about websites and website companies can do that a lot better for you. And you can spend your time working on your business, growing your business,
Yep.
just like you said, right?
Exactly.
So, Ronalyn, one of the things that a lot of my lawyers say to me is, "Yeah, but I can't afford this. I can't
Right.
bring on somebody on a full-time basis."
Right.
So, let's talk a little bit about how you do work with people. I mean, you're not an employee, right?
Right. 1099. Yep.
Okay.
Contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I do packages. I also do one-time projects. Like if there's something that you want to focus on, we can start there. So I mean, what I do is I have a discovery call and figure out what your needs really are.
That's
And
perfect.
yeah, and what
So,
package works.
okay. And so then based on what you learned during the discovery call, then you can make a recommendation as to, I think you
Right.
need this, or I think this is a better
Right.
package for you. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I put up your website, clarkvirtual.now.site home. Is that right?
Yeah, if you just do clarkvirtual.com, it'll go to
Okay,
that.
that'll work
Yep.
too. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I took it from your homepage, so
Yep.
but let me edit that. And so if somebody's listening and says, "Oh, I need to talk to Ronalyn," tell me, what do they need to do?
So if you want to set up a time, if you go right to my website, you'll see a button on there that says schedule a discovery call, and you'll get on my calendar. And once you get on my calendar, you'll get a questionnaire, and you just fill out that questionnaire, and we'll have our call and figure out what you really need.
It couldn't
It's
be easier,
as easy as
right?
that.
Yeah, it couldn't be easier. So that's terrific. So clarkvirtual.com, and then schedule a discovery call, right? That's
Yep.
the button you want to look for. Yeah,
Yes.
it's easy to find. I looked on your site; it's very easy to find. So, but that's great because that's a very customized approach. You don't do it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
You do X for this number of hours.
Right.
Regardless of what your needs are. So
Right.
you have different options depending on
Yep.
who you're talking to and what they
Right.
need.
Right.
Terrific.
Yep.
Terrific. All right. Well, this has been great. I have learned so much more, and I already knew something because I know you, and we're in a
Right.
mastermind together, and I know you. So I already knew something about online business managers, but I actually learned a whole lot more today. So,
Awesome.
so I really appreciate you coming on
Thanks
and
for having
talking with
me.
us. Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And for those of you who are watching, you know how to get in touch with Ronalyn. Schedule your discovery call with her. And, my website, as you know, if you've been listening, is boldwomenlawyers.com. You can go there and download my free success guide. It talks about your mindset, your marketing, and your management. There's lots of great business tips there. So make sure you go and download that. And if when you have questions about it, just let me know. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. So, Ronalyn, thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope
Thank
you have a terrific rest of your day.
thank you. You too.
All right.